Well, here's some interesting historical context. You and I are both advocates for the Pomodoro technique. It hasn't been around that long. It was invented by a university student in the late 1980s who was studying for a sociology exam and couldn't stay focused on studying a book. So what he did was he set a kitchen timer shaped like a tomato, and the Italian word for tomato is pomodoro. So he called it the Pomodoro technique, where you study for a set period of time and then you deliberately walk away and relax for a couple of minutes at a time. He found that that sequence of, say, 25 minutes on and 5 minutes relaxing really helped him focus and come back with renewed energy to do well on his exam. And he started applying it in all these other areas of his life.
Precisely correct. And all credit is due to Francesco Cirillo, the Italian who came up with the Pomodoro technique, which is just, it's so simple, and yet no one had ever thought of it before. And he was so creative in putting together something that we now know from neuroscience. It's like hits every mark of, get distractions away, work for only a restricted period of time, and so forth. Sometimes it does make me laugh, though, because I'll see universities trying to teach about the Pomodoro technique, and they're like, it's a simple 19-step process. And it's like they have to like ruin it by making it overcomplicated, but it's super simple, and that's part of its genius.
You write in your book about preventing procrastination, but there are other ways of dealing with it rather than once you find yourself in the midst of it. Can you talk about the way to set up your environment so that you're not drained at the end of the day, but you actually have more energy rather than less because you've set up your environment to be supportive?
Exactly right. So when you back up a car, for example, you first learn to back up a car, and it's like, oh, this is so complicated. I don't know how. And then once you've learned, it's like that hotkey. You just think, I want to back up a car. And all these complex procedures, which have become habitual, can instantly be pulled to mind, and you can back up without really doing much thinking about it. But this idea of habitual learning, we are just beginning to understand how vitally important it is. So let's say that you're trying to learn coding. Well, guess what? It can actually be super helpful if you memorize certain algorithms. Not memorize them as in this unthinking thing, but as in you can say, "Oh yeah, there's this first thing I do, then the second, then the third," and you can. It actually can flow. That algorithm flows like a song through your mind. So people have not been taught to learn this way. In fact, for many decades, education has really discounted the vital importance of learning something through the procedural pathway so that you know it really well. Instead, they just say, you can always just look something up, and it's like, yeah, could I speak French if I just looked it up on Google Translate? So encouraging people with new ways of learning where they make use of learning things by heart is a great way to enhance their ability to learn.
So, in essence, it becomes something that happens automatically as a habit, right? It's not necessarily a key on a computer that activates a sequence or set of characters. It's something that you do because you are triggered into a useful, deliberate, conscious behavior. Is that right?
So there's so many ways that you can incorporate habit into your life that can be beneficial for you. Of course, Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit was a great book along these lines, and he recommended things like, um, set your running shoes by the door along with your outfit so that it reminds you, and you can easily get going on whatever that habit is that you uh, like exercising that you want to incorporate into your life. But the reality is that the brain has two major superhighways of learning. One is called declarative. It goes through the hippocampus and into long-term memory. The other, it goes in through the basal ganglia to long-term memory. that latter basal ganglia pathway is the pathway of habit. Habits are really, they can be really easy, like tying your shoelaces, but they can be really, really complex, like speaking in your native language. So, and notice that when you speak in your native language, you don't have to think about it. I mean, you're thinking about your thoughts maybe, but you don't have to think about how do you put the words together. If you're looking for a word, mostly it will pop intuitively into mind. But that habitual pathway of learning is also one that you can take advantage of, or your those who you work with can take advantage of, because this, when you learn something really, really well, and you do it a lot, the part of your brain called the infralimbic cortex says, I keep using this equation. I'm using this, this hotkey on my computer a lot. you know, I'm going to create a set of links using this habitual pathway. And once you do that, you don't have to think about it anymore.
That's right. And it's so exciting that even now in the 2020s, there are new techniques and refinements and insights coming out that could help people become more productive and learn faster because it really is an advantage in business. It's something that everyone listening to can embrace. Hi, this is Bill, encouraging you to tune in and listen to the full episode so you get all the benefits that were discussed during this amazing interview. Better yet, find My Quest for the Best on iTunes and subscribe so you never miss an episode when it's published each week. I hope you enjoyed this insight, and I'm so glad you're here.